Okay, we got a caller. All right.
Morning roast. Answer it. Hit the speaker.
Hello, Morning Roast. You're on air.
Okay, Mr. Harris, what would you like to talk about my record?
Who's this? Is this Sutton?
Yes, it is.
All right, Sutton. Here you go.
Okay.
Put the phone close by.
Okay.
If you are Sutton. Okay. What is your record show? What do you have on your record?
Well, what would you mean by what do I have on my record?
What do you have on your record? Do you have repeatedly wrecking your patrol car on there? Has the city been sued twice because of you wrecking into somebody?
If you'll finish and let me answer, I'll tell you. I have no suits on my record because that is not a part of internal affairs. However, I do have accidents, yes.
Okay, and what happened with the suit? What happened with the one particular suit where the guy sued the city over you hitting him?
You're talking about
2010, I
him in
believe.
the head with the flashlight?
No. I'm still talking about the cars. I'm talking about the accident in 2010 where you rammed into
Vineville
somebody.
Avenue.
What's that?
The accident on Vineville Avenue.
I'm not sure if it was Vineville, but I know there was a lawsuit brought against the city, I believe 2010. Ed says Vineville, yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
So what happened with
Now,
that suit?
You probably need to get all the facts before we discuss it. But there's nothing in my discipline record on that file because I was found non-chargeable in the accident.
What about the other two or three?
Which other two or three?
Car accidents.
Car accidents?
With the patrol car. I'm not talking about your personal off-duty car. I'm talking about with your patrol car.
Yeah, I understand that. Thank you very much. Let's see here. Had an accident. This dated 6/1 of 2012 for operating motor vehicles going too close. I was given a written reprimand. Let's see, here's one dated 5/31/2011, operating motor vehicles, failure to yield right away, a verbal counseling.
So, do you think you're qualified to drive a police car?
Oh, very much so. How many wrecks have you had in your life, sir?
That were my fault? One was my fault. The rest I was in was the other person's fault, hitting me.
Okay.
And two, Sutton, if you're Sutton, two, I'm not a police officer. I don't have to be held to a higher standard of driving my car like you are. Let's go to more to your record. What's up?
Wrong, There's no law stating that police officers are held to a higher standard than an average citizen when driving a patrol car.
You should be because you're working with that car. Your car is part of your job. Your car is government property. Your car is the city's property and the state's property. Your car is basically paid for by our taxpayer money. You should be held at a higher standard. One more thing, your record again. So, and one of the chatters said this. What's the story with the apparently the lady you backed into holding the child in her hands?
There was no accident there. She never filed a complaint. No accident was ever reported. We attempted to, or the department, I believe, attempted to contact her. She would not cooperate with them.
Okay, I'll take your word for that one. Next one. What's up with the story of you yanking the lady out of her car?
That would be in 2010. The alleged, hang on one second and I'll read it for you. The complainant, Shamira Sears, alleges that on July 14, 2010, Macon police officer Clayton Sutton used excessive force, pulling her from her vehicle, throwing her on the ground while arresting her. The complainant was also alleges Officer Sutton was rude and used profanity toward her. Complainant also alleges that Officer Sutton's incident report concerning her money is incorrect. I was given a written reprimand.
Okay, so
you want to know more about that story, or is that good enough for you?
No, you're feeding it nicely to me because you were given a written reprimand, so you agreed with the reprimand, correct? You agreed you did something wrong.
No, I don't. I don't believe I did anything wrong.
Well, why didn't you fight it?
And I cannot appeal a written reprimand according to Macon police policies.
Our chatter asks again, back to the backing over the lady. He wants to know, did you run her over?
No, I did not.
Okay, next one. Next question. Warrant. Why was the media reporting there was a warrant that was being served on December 21st at Kroger?
I cannot comment anything about that case until after the whole thing is done.
Okay. So back to your record then. What about the guy who claims you beat him with a flashlight? What do you say about that one?
That is Mr. Brewster. I'll read the complaint for you, and I'll tell you exactly what happened if you'd like me to. You can just hear the complaint. Which would you like, sir?
Both. I mean, I've seen parts of your record already, but I want to hear both from you, if you don't mind.
You want to say that one more time? I couldn't hear you.
I want to hear both from you. I've seen some of these complaints in person myself, but I want to hear both from you.
So you want to hear what happened, not what the complaint said?
Yeah, I want to hear what happened, and then I want to hear what kind of reprimands, written or otherwise, you were given over these.
That's fine. That's fair enough. 2010, I don't know the exact date and time. I can't find it in here. I was working on the Violent Crimes Task Force, or the strike team for the city of Macon. Myself and two other officers were on patrol in a high drug and high crime area. We made contact with one subject, arrested him for having marijuana on his person, and he also told us where he bought it from and that the people there had several guns with them. We then transported him to jail. We then went back to the scene of where he told us he bought the marijuana. Myself and another officer walked on foot up to the where the people were sitting outside of the house. There were about 8 to 9 people there. And as soon as we turn on our flashlights, two young subjects began throwing pistols into the wood line. We recovered both pistols. I was then instructing other people to come off of the porch from the house. One subject then attempted to run inside of the house, at which time my sergeant ran to detain him. They got into a altercation, somewhat of a fight, at the back door of the house, which time my supervisor was pushed backwards. I then ran up and hit the man 3 times in the side of the head. Not with a flashlight, but with my fist.
Okay, if that is true, I'll take your word for it. Let's say I take your word for that. What was there any sort of reprimand given about? Were you reprimanded in any way? Was procedure?
The original disciplinary review board recommended a 5-day suspension, which I appealed and was reduced to a written reprimand.
So let me ask you something, Officer Sutton. If you're innocent all the time of all this stuff, why are you consistently being reprimanded? I mean, is everybody else just out to get you on the police force? Are your superiors just out to get you? Because it sounds to me like you're constantly getting reprimanded, but yet you're appealing them all. So are you just not doing anything wrong and everybody's picking on you?
That's an interesting question, Mr. Harris. I would say that I'm not doing anything wrong, obviously. I think our disciplinary review board, or our way that the police department handles discipline, is not the greatest in the world. I think there's some flaws in it, and some of it should be fixed. However, once you've been giving a complaint, Internal Affairs does a investigation, and then it goes before a board of 5 other officers, and these officers may or may not have been there. I do not know.
See, because it sounds to me like you're making excuses for the problems you've had. Okay, next question.
Not excuses at all, sir. They are simply, I'm doing my job. I believe I'm following policies and procedures laid out by the Macon Police Department, and other people don't.
So you think everybody else is wrong in the police force? You think Chief Burns is handling it wrong? You think Deputy Chief Carswell is handling it wrong, right? You think
Deputy Chief Carswell and Mike Burns usually do not get involved in depth into a disciplinary action until it becomes apparent that they need to. That means it would have to be a severe disciplinary action or repeated disciplinary action.
What is your total number? Let me ask you this: what is your total number of reprimands? I've heard 8 to 10, and I've only seen 4. So what is the actual amount of reprimands you've had? Hello? Hello?
Hang on. I have 6 written reprimands, all for various things.
You have how many?
6.
6. Okay. 6 reprimands.
An average of 1 per year that I have worked at the police department.
And you've had what? 27 complaints, right?
Something like that. I can't tell you every complaint because every complaint's not on this.
Right. I understand that. I'm not going to say that every complaint holds water with an officer, because we know there's people out there that complain just to complain, and really they're the ones at fault. I understand that. But the reprimands I have a problem with. I have a problem with having that many reprimands and keeping your job. Next thing, let me ask you this: why, if you're Sutton, why didn't you call for backup when you drove into Kroger on December 21st?
As I said before, sir, I can't comment on that case until everything's finished.
You don't find anything wrong with that? Yes or no?
I can't comment on that until everything is finished.
Okay. Next question. You got something, Derek? If you got something, go with it.
I mean, nothing
Ed?
just comes to mind. You pretty much said it all.
I'm still having doubts with this.
Yeah, Ed's having doubts. We don't even know whether you're really Sutton or not, but we're going to play along like you are. So.
I mean, hey, what we're trying to do is, if the things are on your side, and we do anything we can to show.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not questioning the GBI's. Well, the GBI's investigation is separate. Whatever they come out with is fine. My problem is that I think you should have been fired ages ago before you even drove into that parking lot because of your record. I don't think you show that you're really material to be a police officer. Let me ask you this: were you in Afghanistan?
Yes, I was.
Okay, what years were you there?
I was there from 2009 to 2010 with the 48th Infantry Brigade right here out of Georgia.
Right, and are you and did you see combat?
I did.
Okay, did you get tested for PTSD after returning home?
Well, that depends on what kind of testing you mean. There are several different stages of testing. The majority of combat veterans that come out of combat are only simply asked a series of questions, and yes, I was asked all those questions and passed with flying colors.
Okay, do you take any kind of medication?
No, I did not.
You don't take any kind of pills for anything? Okay. When were you in the military again? In Afghanistan,
No,
you said?
the military.
When were you in the 48th Brigade? What year?
When was he in the Army?
He's in the 48th Brigade.
I just said the Army.
No, he was in the 48th
I want
Brigade.
to know how long he was in the service.
How long are you in the service, Ed wants to know.
How long did I serve in the Army totally or in the 48th Brigade?
Totally. How long are you in the military totally?
I was in the military for 9.5 years.
9.5 years?
What the dates?
And you went in, so that means you went in at 20 years old?
Dates. Give me dates.
I went in at the age of 19. I went to Georgia Military College at the age of 18, directly out of high school.
Right.
I did 2 years at the Military Service Academy, at which time I was given a commission into the Army. And then I served 9.5 years.
And do you remember the date you entered the military?
I do.
What day was that, please?
That would be May 31st, 2003.
2003, May 31st. Okay.
Where's he from originally?
Where are you from originally?
I am from Arkansas.
Arkansas. And you live in Warner Robins?
I'm not going to tell you where I live, but yeah, that's close.
Well, I just noticed that way back on your Facebook page, if you are Sutton, that you lived in Warner Robins. Which, again, I question that. Okay, let me ask you this. Are you with Precinct 3?
Yes, I was.
Okay, this is my problem I'm having too, and I've brought this up to the media and to other people privately. What's up with Precinct 3? Why is there so much problems with? I'm not going to say corrupt cops, but let me say fishy police officers in Precinct 3. What's up with that?
Officer Jones and Officer Graves,
Right.
found guilty of the crimes that they are indicted for or alleged to have committed. Dislike them just as much as anybody else would. I do not think that these officers were very good officers if they are really out there truly committing these crimes. I do not know if they committed these crimes myself or not, so I cannot comment on that as well.
So you seem to have a problem with your superiors, right? I mean, you've already stated that you don't think they were right to reprimand you. You don't think that they necessarily have these guys pinned by busting them for stealing a tractor and taking guns from a crime scene and then giving them away as gifts. It seems to me like you're making excuses for everybody other than the ones that are possibly guilty.
No, I didn't say that at all. I simply stated I don't have a problem with any of my superiors. I work for them. I don't necessarily agree with decisions that they make the same as you might at your job if you had a boss. There again, back to the discipline part of it, Chief Burns nor any of my supervisors actually give me the written reprimand. The written reprimand, suspension days, whatever it may be that the disciplinary board comes up with, is my fellow officers that I work at the same level I do.
Okay, so we have some chatters here, and some, of course, question whether you're really who you are. That's for them to decide. That's for us to decide. You know, anybody can call the show, but we're going to go along with this like you are who you say you are. A few people do actually thank you for calling in if it's really you. They say...
Let me interrupt you for a minute.
Go ahead.
What would you like me to tell you to prove to you that I am who I say I am?
Well, we already kind of got information from you on that. We can look it up. We got your dates. You were in the Army. We got your dates. You just told us certain things about you. We can find that out. But I'm going to just ask you the questions that I would ask you if I was in person with you. If we all met with the police force like they said they were going to do originally, but now have backed out with that. These are the same questions I would have asked you then, in front of everybody. This is some of the same stuff I would have asked you. I know you're not going to answer anything having to do with December 21st, so I'm going to stop asking you those questions because you're going to tell me the same old answer. But
that's right. I don't want to lose my job any more than you want me to keep it. So.
Well, but let me ask you this. If you are Clayton Sutton, don't you think you calling this show is detrimental to your cause and your case?
No, sir. Not at all.
I mean, does anybody know you're calling? Do your superiors know you're calling?
I don't know. They would probably have to watch the show to know if I was calling or not. I don't know if they watch it or not.
I mean...
but if they are watching and they do see that I called, I don't believe that I would be violating any policies or procedures
Right.
by the Macon Police Department that I would be fired for.
Okay, so let me ask you this. Why'd you wait so long to speak to someone? We're in 10 weeks here. Why have you come out to speak now?
I'm not really coming out to speak per se to everyone. Your radio show here, or your morning internet radio show, there's a very small group of people that's probably watching. Mainly just called to talk to you, but you said you wanted me to call while the show was still on, so I did that just to please you. You have become quite a little activist, protester. I don't really know what you want to call yourself. I figured I'd just call and talk to the man who wants all the answers. The reason I'm calling now is because, much like yourself, I'm kind of tired of waiting.
Yeah, well, we agree on one thing. But look, you have to, yeah, and you are well aware that this show is always recorded, right?
I am aware that y'all record it daily, and I really try to watch your little segments on what you're doing next and all this.
Okay.
On today.
As long as you know that, we want to make sure. Okay, so the next thing,
Just a bit for you, Georgia law states that only one person in the conversation has to be aware that it's being recorded. So you would not be breaking any laws anyway.
Well, that was Ed. Ed, our producer just wanted me to make sure you knew that, so I'm entertaining Ed. But basically, we appreciate that little rundown.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, what? And this is kind of outside the case. If you say you were a bystander looking in at what we've had to experience with this situation, what would you think should happen to the officer? Let's say you're not Clayton Sutton and another officer was involved in what happened December 21st. Do you remotely see where we're coming from as protesters or concerned citizens? I don't really call myself a protester, to be honest with you. I call myself a concerned citizen that's kind of fed up with corruption I think has been going on in the police force long before you were a police officer, believe me. And also what made me so fed up is that this happened down the street from where I kind of grew up off and on, where my mom still lives. I went to school, Central High School, graduated from there. You know, this is what struck me about the whole thing, is that I was sort of aware of Sammy Davis Jr. I wasn't a friend with him per se, but I used to see him sitting out there quite a bit. That was the Kroger I went to with my kids. To me, the way it was handled, you know, whether there was reason to handle it that way, whether you were attacked first or not, the way it was handled was just wrong. It was not handled correctly in that having known Sammy's record, so to speak, since something had happened with him in 2010, it seems to me that backup should have been called originally. It should have been more than one officer there from the get-go. Second, once you saw the size of this guy, you should have called backup. You know, to be honest with you, if this guy's a big menacing guy like the media wants to portray him as, you should have called backup. And also, and again, you're not going to answer this, I understand. And also, how careless is it to do that in front of, or mere yards away from an entrance and exit of a Kroger in the middle of the day, 3:30 or so in the afternoon, and you have kids and elderly coming in and out of those doors all day long? I mean, how careless is that to pull a gun out and shoot 3 times?
Well, like you said, I can't really answer that question. I will tell you this, however, if I was a concerned citizen and I was not part of this, I would simply wait for all the facts to come alive and then make my decision then. I would not rush to judgment.
But the facts of the matter are that your record is not that good, and that we were told a lie from the beginning by the police spokeswoman, Jamie Gaudet, that there was a warrant being served when there wasn't. I mean, that's the red flag that comes up immediately with me, is that there was no warrant, and they could smooth it over and go, oh, it was an innocent mistake, but I find that hard to believe. And then in light of more officers coming out with these 2 stealing a tractor and these other 2 stealing guns from crime scenes and giving away, I mean, it is all in Precinct 3 area. I mean, to me, it comes across like there's a problem with Precinct 3, like there might be a inner group, a subculture within that culture of policemen in Macon that think they're above the law. You know, that's what it comes across as to me as.
Well, I would tell you that Precinct 3 is no, let's see, how do you put it, John Wayne movie from the 70s, or Clint Eastwood, excuse me.
Clint Eastwood. Magnum Force.
Eastwood.
There you go, Magnum Force.
Like I said, I can't comment on anything that happened on December 21st. But like I said before, I would wait for all the facts to come out before I made up my mind.
Well, I mean, we are, but regardless of the GBI's results, I still personally think you shouldn't have your job. I think that you should not be a police officer because of your record and what you've done in the past. What you've told us on here, if you're really Sutton, is that you've disagreed with all these disciplinary actions that your superiors have given you. You're passing the buck.
I disagree with all of them. In the case of Shamira Sears, where she alleged that I threw her out on the ground, used profanity and this, that, and the other, and was given a written reprimand, the case was myself and another officer pulled over a car leaving a drug house. I was talking to her at the passenger side window. I asked her to step out of the car. She then began stuffing a fairly large bag of powder cocaine down her pants. At that that time, I did rip her out of the car, place her in handcuffs to retrieve the evidence or to keep it from being destroyed.
Two more things. What?
I do have one.
Okay, Derek Barrett's got
I
something.
have
for you.
one. Are there, when a person is terminated, what will be the grounds of termination? Because I mean, do you have to have a certain number of multiple? How many demerits you have to get in order to be
Or reprimands.
reprimands?
Right. He's asking, is there a limit to where the police, the so-called internal affairs, even though we realize Macon doesn't have that good of an internal affairs,
Is it? Yeah.
he's asking, is there a limit? Do they hit a certain number and they go, this guy's got to go, or this girl's got to go? She cannot be.
Is it by
Is there a limit?
Is there a limited number, given number, or is it or just the intensity, intense of that demerit?
I think there's two or three different answers to that. The best way for me to answer your question would be to tell you to obtain a copy of the Macon Police Departmental policies and procedures and review them for yourself.
Right. Well,
If you did that, you would find that there's not a set number of limits or a set number of reprimands, which automatically you're fired, terminated, or anything else. I think you would find that most of it depends on the severity of each situation and the past events or your past disciplinary record.
So what do you think personally should be the number? See, I think 6 is more than enough. I'm kind of like the baseball guy. If you get up to 3, you need to go, and even 3's being nice. I mean, what do you think should be the number?
Well, I don't think there should be a set number. I believe that officers out here have a very hard job, especially in today's age where people will make up lies or complain, not tell exactly the whole truth. And for a city like Macon 3 years ago where there was nothing but my word against the complainant's word, that's kind of hard saying who you're going to believe. Nowadays, Macon does have patrol cameras, which are usually activated and record every situation, which helps us see that most of the times the officer is right and the complainant is not fully truthful in their complaint. There are situations, say if an officer is arrested for pretty much any violation of the law, they should probably be fired.
So you would fire yourself then? If you were not Officer Sutton and you were another officer or another citizen and you saw what happened, or with your record, I'm not talking about what you saw happen December 21st, but with your record, then you would fire yourself, right?
No, I would not. My record is very clean compared to most other officers within the department.
Well, I believe that
But
because
do
I know
you
there's a
think-
guy
do you
with
think
70
you're kinda
complaints.
getting railroaded on this because of your record?
Ed wants to know, do you think you're getting railroaded on this because of your record?
You know, as far as y'all are railroading me, yeah, well, that's pretty obvious. You talking about the police department railroading me, or just
In general, I mean, I don't think I'm railroading you, Officer Sutton, if you're Sutton. I don't think I'm railroading you. I think that I have a legitimate complaint against you and officers that behave like you have behaved, on which your record shows. I think.
I don't think the record shows that at all, sir. I think if you met me or ever had to deal with me, you would find that quite obvious.
So you think they just picked on
You
you?
really need to take a long look at what's in my record. Most of the written reprimands come from stuff as far as not going to court on a certain day, not going to magistrate court.
I've noticed that. I've noticed those.
Every arrest that I make that's going to be a state charge or a felony or misdemeanor charge, or I take someone to jail, I have to go back to magistrate court within 24 hours, write out a warrant, and take that person before a judge to get a bond hearing. Several of these occasions, due to my military service, I was not able to make magistrate court, or sick, or something else. And these are why I was given written reprimand.
Do you believe you should be sitting home now, what, 10 weeks getting paid?
Now, I believe I should be back at work. Most other officer-involved shootings that have happened in Macon, the officers were returned to duty much faster than this.
And why do you think you should be back at work already?
Now, I can't really say, but like I just said, most other officer-involved shootings, the police officers were returned to work much faster than 2 months.
Yeah, but I think the difference is with most officers, and I don't have information in front of me, but I'm thinking with most officers, if they shot people, it was because the person they shot was also armed, correct? I mean, we're talking about a situation where you shot an unarmed man, okay? And also a situation where you're alone, you don't have backup, and you're doing this in the middle of the day at a busy place, a real busy place, and you're doing this yards away from an entrance and exit to a grocery store. I mean, I think you have to understand and see why this is a little different case than your basic, Officer Whitehead busting in a house of a supposed drug dealer and gang member and them having a shootout. In that case, both people were armed, correct? You're dealing with a guy, Sammy Davis Jr., that wasn't armed, all right? You don't see the difference in that?
There's not much difference in the fact there. Officer Whitehead was serving a search warrant, came upon, fired back.
And you weren't serving a warrant.
Well, slow down, sir. Then listen. Officer Whitehead was serving a search warrant for a resident, not an arrest warrant for a person. I cannot tell you anything that happened on my case, so I can't really finish my answer. But there's no difference in the two in the fact that an armed person shooting at someone is still an attack.
Right. We understand that part, but the reason you're being brought there to begin with, and again, you're not going to answer, I know that, but the reason you're being brought there to begin with is that somebody had to call for you to show up, right? If you showed up, and this is my problem too, if you showed up and you knew, and the police force in general knew that they had a call before involving a guy that's apparently schizophrenic off of his meds at Kroger, why did you go there alone? Why were you the sole officer to go to that Kroger and accost Sammy Davis Jr.?
I wish I could answer that question for you, but I can't. I'm sorry.
I mean, okay, I understand that. I understand you can't answer those. So basically, Irvin's here. He's showing back up. Irvin, you got anything to ask? This guy claims he's Sutton. He sounds right. He's given us information about his military background. Of course, he can't answer a lot of stuff concerning the case. I've explained to him why I think he should have been fired ages ago.
What did he say about that?
Well, again, he disagrees. He thinks that he has an exemplary record, that really his reprimands are not that bad.
Wait a minute. No, all that stuff about you. What about that woman that was at City Hall saying that you backed up into her and the kid? What about all the other stuff that you, on record, shows that you've been a bully to some of the people in this community? What about all that? Did we just throw that under the rug? And so,
which one you're talking about, if you'll tell me the exact case or something to do with the case, I'll be glad to tell you what I think about it.
He's basically referring back to what I already brought up while he was in the other room, which is the cases of, and you weren't here, Irvin, when he replied, yanking the woman out of the car, beating the guy with the flashlight, recklessly driving your patrol car. What's the thing with the bribe? What's the thing we've heard about the bribe and with the bad check? What's up with that?
The bad check.
All that's on record.
I'll give you this on the bad check. I may have done one thing wrong that day, and that was answered a phone call from my wife and tried to help her employer with the situation. What happened was my wife called me and asked how to report a bad check to the police department. I asked her why she was calling me to ask that. She said at the place she was working, they received a somewhat bad check. I told her that a bad check is not a criminal offense until after it goes through civil court. That she needed, her employer needed to take the check to civil court and run it through its process. She called me back 10 minutes later and said that the employer stated that it was not just a bad check, that the person came in for services, got the services, wrote a check, and then canceled the check as soon as she left from the business. At that point, it would become a theft of services. I then responded to the scene, answered the call, made contact with her, got her side of the story. To make a long story short, I did tell her when I first arrived there that she may be arrested for theft of services and that she didn't have to answer any of the questions. Turns out the service was never rendered, and the employer decided not to tell me that. So I then went back to the employer and pretty much told him he was a moron for trying to cash the check and that he needed to eat it in his wallet, but he could still take it to civil court. The police department recommended that I be suspended for 1 day simply because it was the employer of my wife.
So basically, they were looking at you as sort of an accomplice, is what you're saying.
On a personal nature?
Right.
For the department?
Not an accomplice. They were simply looking at it as that it came off to be that I may be trying to do personal favors for my wife's employer as a police officer, which I was not. I was simply answering a call. The call would have been inside of my precinct anyway.
So do you think you make bad decisions? Because you've told me of stuff that you've done, and they don't really sound like good decisions for a police officer to make. I mean, you get where I'm coming from, Sutton? I mean, you just admitted that you did something bad with a check that, looking back, you shouldn't have done. That's kind of a spur of the moment.
I didn't say that. I said I kind of agree with the police department. Maybe I shouldn't have answered a call for service where my wife works.
Right.
Conflict of interest.
Right, but that's what I'm saying, is that involves decision making. You don't think that's a bad decision? I mean, that doesn't reflect your decision making?
In 6 years? A bad decision to run a red light downtown.
Well, no, that's questionable because I claim it was a yellow light. I mean, I was, and Irvin was with me that night, and he even said I was underneath it when it was yellow. So that's questionable.
Yellow doesn't mean hurry up, sir. Yellow means slow down, take caution, and stop.
But if I'm already moving and through the light, I'm through the light.
What are we talking? Are we talking about a ticket or Sammy?
Well, he brought that up to just, I guess, make his point.
Don't
distract
the question that I asked.
Oranges.
Don't distract the question that I asked. I asked the question: do you believe, first of all, that you even deserve to be a police officer? Besides the fact that you were really reckless. I mean, it is on record, sir. It is on record that you've been a bully, you've been unprofessional. It's on record. Are you just going to kind of like throw that aside? And now on top of that, you have this very questionable shooting that you did with this Jumbo. Is he talking?
He was trying to answer you.
Yeah.
His reply, Irvin, was he thinks that his record shows that he is not unprofessional.
Well,
he said basically he's not as bad as some of the other cops.
Right.
I know we've gone through this, Devine, but we're going to go through it again. Because obviously...
And it's all taped. He knows it's being taped. It's all
obviously, I don't think he thinks that.
Well, he doesn't. If it's really Sutton, he thinks he's okay, which goes back to what I said to D.A. Cook on the phone when I had a conversation with him about this about a month ago. You know, he was trying to make excuses, the same excuses, saying, well, you know, there's a lot of officers with a hell of a lot worse records on the police force. And my comment to him was, well, you know what? Just because you lowered the standards doesn't mean we should, as a society, lower our standards. Yeah. And this is what I'm hearing from you,
I'm
officer.
not saying that any other officer's records are worse than mine to try to cover up my record. I'm just saying it's a fact that there are other officers that have had way more complaints, mind you, does not actually mean there's a reprimand or anything.
I agree. I agree.
Done wrong.
I agree. I know that, and that's why I said that I'm not going to believe every complaint I see, because there are people that are just going to complain just because they want to complain against the police. I understand that. But once you have the reprimands, like Irvin said also, the reprimands show that even your superiors thought you did something wrong. And if you have that many reprimands...
Right there, you're wrong again, sir, because like I stated previously, my superiors do not recommend I be reprimanded, suspended, or anything else. The reprimands simply come from a board of 5 other officers, usually made up of private level patrol officers like myself.
Well,
and we've had that question anyway about internal affairs. Go.
I have a question. Do you seriously think that David Davis is going to transfer over his department? I'm not sure if you're aware of the video where he talks about you. And even he agrees.
Talk about me at all.
Even he, wait a minute, let me finish. Right now, nobody has authority here but me. And so what I'm saying to you is, officer, is do you think, honestly, that David Davis is going to take you as a police officer on his force?
Sheriff Department.
Sure. Because I doubt it very much. So that's why I'm not making a big shit about this. Whether you get fired or not, I really don't care at this point. Because I don't believe you have a career as a police officer in this city. What do you think of that?
Everybody's entitled to their...
I'm not worried about it. Justice will prevail, sir.
Let him answer, Irvin. Go ahead.
First off, everyone's entitled to their own opinions, Irvin. I can't speak for what David Davis is going to do, though.
Are you pursuing a law enforcement career? If the GBI comes back with whatever results they do, and then the DA and mayor get up in front of the cameras, and then they decide what they're going to do about it on their end. Let's say that you get off and that nothing happens to you, okay? Let's say that. Are you going to pursue a career in law enforcement? Continue to?
I'm not going to throw away 6.5 years of earned retirement, no.
But, I mean, the thing about it, Chief Burns already stated in the media that there's no way he can put you back in the same job. Regardless. Because of what happened with all this, there's no way.
Other jobs within the police department?
Well,
they're not in the public eye, is what he stated.
Exactly.
Which means I simply won't be on patrol any longer. I won't answer calls for service.
Yeah, and are you fine?
There's still investigators. There's still crime analysis. There's still the crime lab. There's still supervisory positions. There are still crime stoppers, little don't make the call guy.
Right.
Plenty of other jobs within the police department.
And you're fine with those jobs, right?
Some of them not, but I work at the pleasure of the chief, so I'll work where he tells me to go.
Let me ask you this. Simple yes or no answer. Do you regret what happened on December 21st, 2012 at Kroger?
There again, sir, I cannot make any comments on that day or that case.
Just want to know if you regret it or not. Do you stand by what you did? Yes or no?
I cannot make any comments on that day or that case.
So are you going to comment on this stuff after the results come back? Or are you just going to stay quiet?
I would be more than happy to.
Hey, do you want to come on our show?
No, I wouldn't really like to come on there and sit down next to all 3 of y'all and have a conversation.
It'll be civil. Come on, come on.
Oh, yeah.
When you have a chance to be on, when you have a chance to address the public,
don't worry about it. We're gonna go nowhere near what you're capable of doing.
You can come on this show. We'll sit you right here. It'll be civil conversation. So, if you change your mind, let us know. Email us. Put it on the Facebook page. Put it on the chat room. You can call our number. It's I Suck Goats. No lie. It's I Suck Goats. That's the phone.
I know what the number is. That is quite funny, y'all.
Yeah, and we didn't set it up, to tell you the truth. That's just the number they gave him, and it just happened. Ed figured out that that's what it spelled.
All right, Bean is convinced that he's
Ed
son.
must be pretty good with like numbers and stuff, because he figured that out pretty fast. Pretty impressive.
So let's go here. Chatters have some stuff for you. Read any chatter stuff. And we're going late, of course, because if you just joined in, someone claiming to be Officer Clayton Sutton is on the phone. The chatters
Seem to be convinced it is.
people believe it.
There'll be a
Sabuki from
total
England
scam.
thinks it's him. Bean 52. But again, they have a lot to say too. Bean, she says he's opening up the door of corruption in Macon. Saibuki says everyone seems to forget that he did not have to ring in to get this brief. Not only has he rung in, he's done his best to answer your questions. Yeah, I mean, we do appreciate him answering and calling if it is him. We do appreciate that. But so basically, these are just comments. Bean thinks you might be getting yourself into hot water for calling the show.
She may be very true. That may be a true statement.
If he wants to add us on Facebook,
So-
Just kind of clicking on what we do. He may not like this at all.
So let me ask you this: what did you see the Channel 13 interview with Cheryl Davis?
I did.
What did you think of what she said? The last one she did.
Like I said, I can't really say anything about that.
Do you-
And anything that does transpire from what she said or what I may do is probably between me and her, not anyone else.
Right, but did you reach out to her?
I obviously I'm not allowed to, so.
Right, and you know what I'm referring to? The what she told Channel 13. The last thing she said.
I couldn't hear you.
Do you know what I'm referring to? What she told Channel 13?
I believe you're referring to that you would like to sit down and talk with me and ask me what happened that day.
Sort of. I'm also referring to that she told the media, she told 13, the reporter, that she did forgive you. Because of her religion and because of her beliefs in a higher power, she has to forgive. And that's what I'm referring to, is that she still wants you to basically pay the price for what you did, but she does forgive you. No comments on that?
No, there's not really any comments I can make on that.
can't make any comments on the case at all.
I know. He can't. I'm just trying to get anything on the side, outside the case with the Cheryl Davis or whatever. Derek, anything else?
You pretty much
Anything else?
answered the question.
Ed,
I had.
anything else? We could probably ask you a lot more, but you've handled yourself pretty well. I'll give you credit. You've answered pretty well. We thank you for calling. I'm sure I'll think of more to ask you, but really, if you want to come on the show, we will welcome you on the show.
Sure you will, sir.
Between the two of us in the world here, I stand by it. I think you should be fired. I think you should not be a police officer. I just don't think that was handled right. We'll see what happens when the GBI comes out. We'll see what they say. Let me ask you this. Yes or no? Did you have the camera on your police car on?
I can't answer that question either, sir. I'm sorry.
I knew it. I was trying to sneak that one in.
Yeah,
I was trying to get you to
Mr.
say.
Harris.
What do you think? What do you think? This is outside. What do you think of our mayor? Honestly, what do you think of Mayor Rickard?
Mayor Rickard?
Yes.
I don't, obviously I don't live in the city of Macon, so a lot of his decisions do not affect me as much as other people. Some of his decisions that have affected me have been around the police department. Commend him for trying to initiate a pay scale for the police department and city employees. He did get it passed, although it has not been passed since that day. I think that Robert Rickard has a very hard job, not a job that I would want to try and do at any point in time, but I think he is probably trying to do his best, and where he may have succeeded or failed is not really for me to judge.
Right. Were you cut on the neck by Sammy Davis Jr.?
Say that again, sir?
Were you cut on the neck by Sammy Davis Jr.?
Again, I can't answer anything on that.
All right. I'm making sure I got you on record. That's right. I'm going to get you. I'm going to ask you because this is a show. This is what we do here. We got to get the deep questions. Now, are you allowed...
I have a question, sir.
Are you allowed to speak on this after the investigation's over?
I don't really know if I'm allowed to or not. Knowing the past history of the police department, I would probably say they would not want me to comment on it.
What do you think you should do? Do you want to comment on it? You got freedom of speech.
I do have freedom of speech as a person and a citizen of the United States, but I also have a civil duty to the city of Macon and the police department, which I swore an oath to.
Would you ever let this story out should you leave the force? Let's say you're fired, or let's say you're released, or let's just say for whatever reason you don't stay on the police force within the next year or two. Once you're off the police force, are you going to finally tell your story in all of this?
I probably will not. I don't see the situation as something that should be relived over and over as it has been. I think the parties involved, be it the Davis family and myself and the police department, should get the facts as they are given and move on with our lives.
Are you have you ever had to shoot anybody before in the line of duty? Besides being in the military, of course. I'm not talking about being in the Army in the 48th Brigade. Outside of the military, have you ever had to pull your gun and pull the trigger as a policeman?
No, I have not.
So that's the only time it happened.
That is correct.
And you are not on any medication. I mean, you don't have any medication from being in the military, from being in combat, from any of that.
None.
What was your? I'm an ex-Army guy. I was in the Army. What was your? What was your marksman medal in the Army? What did you get? Expert, sharpshooter?
For the last 4 years, I've shot 38 out of 40, and that would make me an expert.
Right, I agree with that. You're right on that because when I was in basic training, I got my record still. I was 39 out of 40. I got an expert too.
When were you in the service, Mr. Harris?
I was in the service in 80. I went in in 88. I was 11 Charlie, which is infantry mortars. I went to Fort Benning for basic training. I was stationed in Schweinfurt, Germany. After that,
I've been to Hornsfeld, but never Schweinfurt.
Yeah, 11 Charlie, which is infantry mortars. But anyway, back to you. So
I did a company of them.
yeah, so you and I was in the Marne division in Germany. I was stationed in the Third Armored Division.
Ah, very nice.
So anyway, back to this. We appreciate you for your time. We do. We've already gone almost a whole hour over our show. Trying to get whatever else I can out of you in case you don't call back again or in case you don't come on the show, which most likely...
I have a question for you there, Mr. Harris, if you don't mind answering it.
Go for it.
All right. My question to you would be, can you please cease and assist all your rallies, protests, whatever you want to call them, until after the 2 or 3 weeks it's going to take D.A. Cook to come back with his answer. When he comes back with his answer either way, you're free to do whatever you want.
I can't promise that. We've already set up our next little somewhat peaceful rally, which is going to be at the city council meeting this Tuesday. Basically, we're again, though, and again, we're not calling so much on anything against you in particular. We're going to be back there to speak in front of the city council. We still want people fired. I don't understand why you are being paid while you're sitting on administrative leave. Let me ask you this. You're getting $15 an hour, right?
No, I do not make $15 an hour to work at the Macon Police Department.
You don't make that?
No, I do not.
Do you make more than that?
Yes, I do.
Okay, because you've been in for 6 years. Because when I looked into this stuff, I I heard from one of the officers that a patrolman who goes in makes $14.55, and then they make $14.99 if they have a college or military background. So I figured you were making at least $15 an hour. You just told us you're making more. So again,
my hourly salary, if you'll remember back to like Mr. Rickard, he passed a somewhat of a pay scale. If you'll go back and find that, I believe it was in 2008, 2010. It bumped me up a few more notches, and I make $15.90 an hour.
so you make I'm gonna write that down, $15.90, and you don't see a problem with you making that $15.90 now for 10 weeks sitting at home.
I can't answer that question.
He can't even answer it. He might even find a problem with it. He might even. Dad, you got something?
No, I'm just saying. I think we need to see what the results are. I think that something's up, and that's why they're calling.
Yeah, and that's what we think. We think something is up.
And, you know, if he made a mistake, I forgive him, man. People make mistakes and stuff.
Well, I mean, that's up to Cheryl Davis to forgive anyway. Like, she's a religious person.
I'm not saying.
But my thing with this, and back to your question for me, I can't promise. I'm not. Believe me, I'm not going to go out and just have a rally every 3 days or a protest. But we do believe, and this goes beyond you. At this point, you know, I want Chief Burns fired. I want the mayor fired. We're calling for the firing of not just you, Officer Sutton, but even your superiors, because they've let you remain on this force, and I don't understand that. And not just you, they're letting a lot of officers remain on the force that have, as you said, horrible records. Why?
You know, like I said before, I can't tell you what Chief Burns will do in 10 months. Obviously, he won't have a job anymore with the police department. It's kind of a moot point. The records of other officers, I think if you actually got the entire files for the records, which you can do, you can file an open records request.
I'm working on that. I've been
affairs for the entire file, not just a summary of the file.
Right.
And read each witness statement.
Right.
Review videos, if there are videos. I think you'll see that a lot of times when officers are reprimanded, it's not quite justified.
Well, again, that's questionable. But I think that if you're going to be held to a higher standard, which, come on, let's face it, the police force should be. Do you believe in the term serve and protect?
The term serve and protect came out, I believe, in the 1970s. It was part of a federal police action of community-oriented policing. It is simply a term that has been adopted since then. It does have a pretty significant meaning under protect. The serve, I think a lot of people misinterpret.
Right. So again, what do you think it means? You didn't answer what you think it means. You just gave us a history lesson on the origins of it. What do you think? What do you think serve and protect means?
To serve the community, not each individual person as a whole, and make decisions for the community as a whole, as for the best of the community, to the best of one person that has been put in an authority position to make.
Okay. How many times had you been to that Kroger, that Pinono Kroger, throughout your patrol?
I buy gas there a lot. I eat there a lot. Go there for a lot of stuff by shoplifting calls.
So you were real familiar with that Kroger.
The Kroger, yes.
That Kroger on Pinono, you real familiar with it?
Yeah, the office is only like a tenth of a mile from it. I know
You're correct. You're correct, because your office used to be a post office. I used to go to that post office.
Yeah.
My mom lives right up the street.
From the fire station.
That's right. So let me ask you this. You were at that Kroger a lot. You told me that much. You saw Sammy sitting out there a lot, didn't you?
I cannot answer that question because that would relate back to the case, sir.
Well, I know, but you answered that you went to that Kroger a lot, and I thought you were going to say that related to the case too. And you answered that you go to that Kroger a lot and that you used to eat there. So I was putting it together that if you go to that Kroger a lot, you've seen Sammy outside there quite a bit.
Well, you're entitled to your own opinion. I just can't give you mine on it.
Alrighty. Fair. Some people have said stuff on the line here. We thank you for hanging in there, everybody.
Yeah, I want to talk to him myself.
Vorpalbite wants to know, what do you think about confiscation of guns and firearms?
If he's talking about the President Obama, Vice President Biden.
In general, he means, what do you think about confiscating it?
I don't necessarily agree with him. I think gun laws should be strengthened. Penalties for violating gun laws should be strengthened. Necessarily taking everybody's weapons, which not technically trying to take everybody's weapon. They're just trying to take certain types of weapons. I think their definition of an assault rifle is somewhat to be questioned. An assault rifle, as you well know, in the military is something that fires more than one bullet each trigger squeeze. Nothing that you can buy in the civilian world unless you hold a Class 2 or Class 3 gun license from the ATF would not allow you to do that.
Or you go to gun shows. You can buy them.
Say that again?
I said, or you can buy them at gun shows.
Can you buy at gun shows?
No, I said you can buy those weapons that they say you shouldn't be able to at gun shows. Personal question, Officer Sutton.
You can buy an AR-15 at a gun show, but an AR-15 is not necessarily an assault weapon.
Exactly, right.
The characteristics of an assault weapon.
Right. Personal question. What have you been doing on administrative leave?
Mostly been sitting at my house, been going hunting a little bit.
Going hunting, okay. Dude, and I've seen pictures. How many kids? You have a family. You have a family, right?
Yeah, my family is no part of this, and I would appreciate you leaving them out of it.
Okay, I wasn't going to bring them in a bad way. Don't believe me. I just wanted to know how many kids you have.
Well, that's like I said, my family is no part of this. I'm not going to bring them into it.
Okay, I understand, and I wasn't trying to bring them in in any sort of way like that.
I'm sure you weren't, sir. I'm sure.
We hope you're at least a good father and a good husband. I'll say that. We hope that.
I try to be.
Yeah, we hope that. So anyway.
It's very hard in today's world, isn't it? I believe you're a father yourself, are you not?
Yes, it is hard. It's hard. It's the biggest job ever, being a parent. It's a big job. It's a big job. Okay, Irvin, you got anything?
I wanted to address
Irvin
really
got
quick.
something.
All right, Officer Sutton. I was a big promoter of the police when I arrived here. As a matter of fact, you may have seen me around. I'm the short little guy that was in 2 policemen's balls. And I drove for the COP in 3 different parades with all the police behind me. I'm a good friend of Chief Burns. And just about any officer who knew me knew that I loved him and I respect him. And as a matter of fact, when some of your associates would drive by, I would always wave or salute them or always go up to them and say, "Thank you for your service." I was known for that.
Okay, get to it.
Yeah. Well, one of your police officers abused me last year. Beat the hell out of me. Did all of that. There was no reason whatsoever for him to do what he did to me. He was the one that cursed at me. He was the one that abused me. He lied to the judge and said that I was obstructing justice. And it was right after he cursed me out, beat the hell out of me, threw me in jail for 14 days. Now, why do you think that I should now all of a sudden take your word that you're a nice guy when I know your department is filled with a bunch of crooked, mean-spirited, bullying, dangerous, probably murdering cops, and Officer Sutton is the one guy that, he's a nice guy that something happened here and made a mistake. I have no trust in any of you guys whatsoever. Now, this is coming from a guy who loves his department. I was a COP for 2 years, dude. And here I am sitting here fighting this whole debacle that I believe you caused because there were guys like you, a dime a dozen, come out of that police department who are arrogant, racist, horrible individuals walking around with guns and then justifying their bullshit by, excuse me, but it's bullshit, kid. What you're saying about Junebug and this and that, you're a murderer. Period. At the end. In my eyes, you're a murderer, sir.
Wow.
And it's never going to change because that guy doesn't exist anymore. He's gone. You put 3 slugs in him. What? Because he was a big black guy and you thought that you were going to get away with it. Oh, he's irrelevant. He's a homeless bum. He's always sitting there. I'm sorry, Officer Sutton. In my eyes, you're going to be a murderer for the rest of your life. I don't care what the GPI report says. And you need to go. That's the bottom line. You should not be wearing a gun, walking around with a gun, policing anybody. There are 3 points to be made. You serve, you protect, but the only thing that's missing out of that logo is respect. The police have no respect for the people in this city, in many ways. They treat the black people like they're a bunch of cattle. Okay, look at that LEC. I mean, come on, man. Now all of a sudden, you're gonna sit on our show and try to justify your bullshit. I just don't buy it. You're a murderer, sir.
All right, let him answer. You there, Sutton?
I'm not in response to Irvin. As far as the Sammy Davis Jr. case goes, I cannot comment on. As far as Mr. Irvin yourself being arrested by a colleague and, as you allege, he abused you and cursed you and this and the other, I hope that you file an internal affairs investigation. I hope that internal affairs investigation did a complete and thorough job. If the officer was wrong, I hope he was given the appropriate punishment.
Did you know that officer? Richardson.
What is the officer's name?
Richardson.
Officer Richardson. He kind of looks like a Piggly Willy guy.
He used to work downtown on Cherry Street, the precinct on Cherry.
Is he a Macon police officer or a Bibb County sheriff?
No, he was a Macon PD.
Yeah. Not only that, but he had 2 other guys with him, and they just stood there and watched this guy abuse me.
Hold on, Irvin. Go ahead.
However, in response to all the other stuff you said before, Mr. Irvin, I believe myself and you have met once before. It was right on Houston Avenue. So we had about a 10-minute conversation, and you actually helped me find 3 people that I was looking for. So, not much else I can say about that. As far as to protect, reserve, and respect, I agree with you. All Macon police officers should respect the community as a whole and everybody in it. In turn, I expect that the community and the people in the whole would respect us as well.
All righty. Okay. So it's 11:58, 44 seconds. This is the morning roast. We're going an extra hour here because we have.
Well, I'm not doing it. I'm done.
All right. We have someone
already said
claiming
my
to be
piece.
Officer Clayton Sutton.
Officer Clayton Sutton,
Yeah.
thanks for being on, but I don't think you're going to have a job in the city.
All right. Does Urban's going to head out on that one? Anything else, guys?
Well, Sabuki did want to say that he said that he wanted to thank Officer Sutton for at least, presenting himself and
for calling
in.
if this is. Ed says thank you. Everybody thanks you for calling. We definitely don't agree with you on some matters, mainly you keeping your job. Do you have anything else you want to say, Clayton?
First off, Mr. Harris, I would like for you to be able to get my entire little background, whatever. I'm not sure quite how to get that to you. I can't get it all myself. The police department even wants to charge me 10 cents a page to have it all printed off. And it does have a lot of witness statements and stuff in it.
Right.
However, if after all this is complete and done, maybe we can arrange to go to internal affairs together. That way you can actually sit down and read everything within the file and make an informed decision on it at that point.
Right, I'll be willing to do that. Believe me, I've already been in touch with Robin Patrick over there at the Open Records department, and basically I've already been talking to her for weeks now about trying to get some of the files. I am aware of how expensive it is to get the files on each officer, because I've gone beyond this, to be true. She knows. I've already requested from her the list of everybody that works at Precinct 3. And I want to get the files on those officers in particular, because to tell you the truth, I have a feeling that there is something up with Precinct 3. I really do. I think there's too much crime going on around there that's involving the actual officers from Precinct 3. And it's in that whole area, that whole Cherokee Heights area, that whole Midtown Macon area. And
I think if you'll take a look about a year, maybe a year or 2 years ago, you'll find it was the same big debacle, not quite as much in the news, but just a different precinct.
What do you mean a different precinct? Precinct 3?
That would be correct, sir.
What about it's different?
Say that again?
Well, what were you getting at? Are you trying to say the officers involved in Precinct 3 were not the same ones that were recently arrested?
They're not the same officers. They're all totally different officers.
Right. But are they all from Precinct 3?
No, I think every precinct has its own problems. I think some Precinct 3s have been quite more publicized than others.
But what I'm saying is Guidry and Wantz were Precinct 3, correct?
They were at the time they were arrested.
And so was Jones, right? And the other one.
Graves, yes. They were both at Precinct 3 as well.
Right. You see what I'm getting at? You're Precinct 3, and the 4 of them are Precinct 3. That's suspicious to me.
The 4 of them and myself have nothing in common besides that we're Macon police officers at Precinct 3.
I know, but I find that fishy.
And we're arrested for them.
Yeah, I find that kind of fishy, though. You got to understand that. I mean, you're all from Precinct 3, and you're involved in some pretty heavy stuff. You know, you got to understand why there's a red flag up.
Hey, I can speculate just as much as the other. I can speculate that since you sit on a radio talk show on the internet from 8 to 11 every morning, that you don't have a job and you have nothing better to do with your life.
No, not at all.
But I could also be wrong in the fact that you do have a job, because obviously you support yourself, your family, and everything else.
Right. Well, I have a job part-time, and I will always have money coming in because I do own property with my brother and uncle. I do own real estate and land and property, so you're right, I will always have money coming in. And you're right.
There, in my speculation, I would be wrong, and I think you'll find out in your speculation you would be wrong too, sir.
We'll see. We'll see. Okay, anything else, guys? You ready to end this? Very good conversation. Again, Officer Clayton Sutton, if it's you, we appreciate you for calling. You know, no love lost. Most of us here on this show believe you should be fired still. We're going to find out what happens when the GBI releases their findings. I still think 2 to 3 weeks of DA Cook waiting is ridiculous. Again, that gives you 3 more weeks of being paid, what is it, $15.90 an hour, right? How many hours is your shift, by the way, Sutton? Officer Sutton, how many hours is your shift?
12-hour shift, the same as most other patrol officers.
Say that again, what hours?
I work a 12-hour shift.
12 hours.
Other patrol officers.
Wow, see, I mean, 12 hours, and you've been getting $15.90 for 12 hours for 10 weeks.
That's not necessarily true, because once I go on administrative leave, I'm paid a straight 40-hour week.
Okay. So you're getting your... Well, I'm just making sure. I want to hear it from his voice. I want to hear it from his. Okay? No, but I want to hear it from him. Okay? He knows this is being recorded. It's the show. It's on TV. It's on Blog TV. I mean, it's on YouTube. Anything else, guys? You ready to get out of here?
Yeah, it's about that time. It's been 4
all right,
hours.
Officer Sutton, look, if you want to come on this show, we got a spot for you. If you want to call again, we got a spot for you. Call anytime. We will wait and see what happens. Again, City Council meeting this Tuesday. I'm going to be there. Some of us are going to be there. We're still going to be calling for the firing of not only you, Officer Sutton, but Chief Burns. Speaking of Chief Burns, what did you think about him going on medical leave?
I hope that everything's well with him. I would not wish anything bad on anybody. I know he has had some medical problems before. I'm not 100% sure on what's wrong with him. I heard well before the news that he was going to be out on leave. That he's a chief, and that's why he has a deputy chief.
Right. And I have spoke to Henderson Carswell. I have spoke to him on the phone. He actually gave me his cell phone number. So, okay, but that's what we're doing. We're still calling for the firing of people because taxpayers' money pays for these guys. It pays for you guys, you know. And I just don't think really that you should have been a police officer with that record. That's my opinion. And I just really don't think that the chief and even at this point the mayor should keep their job because they did nothing. Did you see, let me ask you this, one more thing. Did you see the video we posted that was taken by Cheryl Davis's daughter when we went to the rally that the mayor had? In city?
The state of the city address?
Yes.
I saw the video.
Did you see that?
I did.
Okay, so did you see that? Even the mayor agreed with us. Even the mayor said that I was right to bring up why he has not been checking you guys' files. He agreed with that. I said, don't you think, Mayor, that you should have been checking the files on a regular basis of your police force? He couldn't deny that. Do you agree with that?
I think that someone not denying something is not admitting to that fact. He didn't necessarily come out and say, yes, Mr. Harris, you're right, I should have been checking the files. I think a lot of things about that simple protest, whether y'all were invited to come into the city hall or not, I think it was wrong place, wrong time, and should have been handled a little bit differently.
Right, and that's your opinion. That's fine. And we were invited, believe it or not. There was actually two separate people that I have gotten word from others that said that motioned us in, but that's all. You know, that's in the past. That's happened.
I'm probably 100% in agreement with you that people did motion you in. You could see where the mayor would want that distraction there. That way that he would actually get some kind of airtime at doing a state of the city address.
Right. Well, I just thought that was completely pointless to worry about the state of 2nd Street and how he wants to beautify it when we have repeated examples of officers in his police force doing something wrong, you know, because this is around the time the Guidry, the Watts, you know, and all those other cops. So that's why I got onto him about that.
Remember, he's the mayor of the entire city. He's not just the mayor of the police department.
I agree.
Whether he should have focused more on one thing than the other, the people elected him, and that's what he chose to focus on.
Yeah, but I disagree. I think lives are more important, but then you worry about the aesthetics of the buildings and downtown and all that. I think lives are more important, and I think having an honest police force that does what it's supposed to do is more important. Okay, that's it, I guess. You got the last word if you want, Sutton. Officer Sutton, you can say something. I think you've said it. You want us to wait?
Have you ever worked as a police officer yourself?
No, I've never been a police officer.
I would encourage you to, if you have not and have no experience in the field, to either join us and try to make it better, or at least come and get more involved with the police department and see what actually goes on from a day-to-day basis. Either riding along with a police officer, maybe you have a friend that's in the police department, or finding someone that you feel that you can trust.
Right, but wouldn't they behave accordingly if I did that anyway? I mean, think about it. Anytime there's somebody riding along with a police officer or a sheriff deputy, I mean, of course they're not going to show the person that they're corrupt if they are corrupt. Of course they're going to be on their best behavior, right?
Well, you would have a valid point there. I would think most morons wouldn't steal a tractor with a GPS attached to it and take it to their house either.
That's true. Good one. You got a point on that one. I couldn't believe that either when they did that and it had a GPS. Anyway, okay, we appreciate your call. So do all the chatters.
Yes, we do.
They do. Even if they don't agree with you, or some of them don't agree with you and don't really like you, they at least all agree that They appreciate you calling in if you are who you say you are, and we appreciate it as well. Keep in touch, and we will be in touch, of course, with you.
All righty then, sir. Well, y'all have a wonderful day. I hope y'all have a good weekend. You know, when all this is said and done, hopefully we can get together and have a long conversation about it.
Probably can. Do you drink? Do you go out and do you drink like off duty? Do you drink beer or whatever?
I used to a long time ago. I gave it up about 3 years ago.
Yeah, I gave it up about 7 months ago. So anyway, just curious. Okay. All right, is that it, guys?
I gave it up last night, but I'm going back.
All right. Is
Well,
that it?
I think that's all she wrote. It's 12,
All right.
12:11.
Thanks for your call again.
It's 12:11
All right, have a
p.m.
good one.
You too.
It's 12:11, 11 minutes past noon. It's 45 degrees in Macon, Georgia. You have a great weekend.
Let's thank all the chatters
Thank all
real
our
quick.
chatters.
Let's go through. Guys, this is a great weekend to end it.
Rosalind Nicole, Vorpal by Winchester, Blue Nose 7304, Hot Hulk guest, Nosy Snow guest. Also want to thank Three Bears, Saibuki, and I think Rosalind Nicole, who already left a few minutes earlier. Just want to say thank you. We appreciate your chatting with us and viewing us. We hope you have a very safe and wonderful weekend.
Yes.
If you're making, keep your long johns on and sweaters. It's going to be cold this weekend. It's going to be 32 tonight.
And remember,
31 tomorrow.
Slim Sims. You get pulled over, plead Slim Sims. Slim chance they'll take you downtown. Because they didn't take Judge Sims downtown.